Hello, dear student. Welcome to the last video in Scores of Linguistics. This is the last lesson, and we'll be talking about generativism. It is a theory of language developed by Noam Chomsky in the 1950s. It came as a reaction to the behaviorist view on the fact that the brain is considered a blank slate with regard to linguistic knowledge. So basically, this theory came as a reaction, okay, as a criticism to behaviorist view that the brain is considered a blank state, okay. Children must explicitly be taught their language by the adults around them in stimulus response manner. So, according to behaviorism, as we have explained in fine linguistics lessons, we said that children for them are born with blank slate. They know nothing. Okay, so there is nothing in the mind, okay, and then it is the society that helps them learn language. So generativism criticized this view, and it came to account for language and to refuse, and of course it refused this behaviorist view on language. So according to Chomsky, language is free from stimulus control. So there is no um, stimulus response in language acquisition. Okay, it's free from this. He points out that language is innate and pre-wired in human brain. So according to Chomsky, we are born with um, some innate ability that helps us acquire language. Okay, so we're not born with blank slate. Okay, our brain is not blank slate. So there is something in our brain that helps us, something innate to that helps us to acquire language. And that's of course universal grammar. So the innate body of linguistic knowledge is termed universal grammar. According to Chomsky, children successfully acquire the language in a very short time, even when provided with poor and impoverished linguistic input. That's, of course, thanks to universal grammar. So sometimes when children they are born in a situation, linguistic, or in a situation where they receive poor linguistic input. Okay, and however, they come to you produce, okay, to understand, acquire language uh, in a very short time, and that's of course thanks to universal grammar. So basically Chomsky distinguished between uh, two two elements. Okay, so these are his dichotomies: competence and performance. Competence is the system of linguistic knowledge possessed by native speakers of language. Competence is the ideal language system that enables speakers to produce and understand an infinite number of sentences in their language, and of course to distinguish grammar sentences from grammatical sentences from ungrammatical sentences. So basically, competence is the linguistic knowledge that native speakers possess. That is, it is the system, okay, language system that we have, of course, in our mind, which enables speakers to produce and understand language. Okay. Another term is performance. So the actual use of language in concrete situations. In other words, performance is the way a language system is used in communication. Okay. So if competence is that our tacit knowledge, the language system that we acquired, then when we produce language, when we talk, as I'm talking now, so I am using language in situations, okay, that's performance. This is the performance of language. The distinction between competence and performance is similar to de Saussure's distinction between language and power. Okay, so the competence, if we were to compare these dichotomies with de Saussure's dichotomies, so competence is long, okay, long, okay, competence is long, and performance is parole or parole. Okay, these terms are in French. That's why I talk about langue and parole because he wrote in French. Okay, so that is competence means langue, performance means parole. Okay, in in a sense. So the term generative grammar is also used to label the approach to linguistics taken by Chomsky and his followers, which refers to grammatical in which a set of formal rules are used to generate all those and only those sentences that are grammatical in a given language. So there is another term in generativism. So sometimes you will find generative grammar used instead of generativism. Okay, and it means that the grammar, okay, it refers to grammar in which set of rules are used to generate all those and only those sentences that are grammatical in a given language. Chomsky's study of language is characterized by the use of transformational grammar. This is another term used in generativism, which refers to the language analysis that first it recognizes the relationship among the various elements of of a sentence and among the possible sentences of a language. And second, it uses it uses processes or rules, okay, which sometimes are called transformations, okay, to express these relationship. Okay, so transformational grammar is, okay, what does it? It recognizes the relationship between elements in language and those rules that express the relationship, okay, between those elements. For example, transformational grammar relates the active sentence. For example, John read the book with its corresponding passive. So the passive voice of this sentence is the book was read by John. So the statement George saw Mary is related to the corresponding question whom or who did George see and who saw Mary. We will explain this in further details. So transformational grammar tries to show that in the underlying structure, in their deeper relation to one another, the sentences are very similar. Okay, so if we go back, we have, for example, John read the book. This sentence is similar to the book was read by John. Okay, so these sentences are similar. So the surface structure of the sentence is similar to the depth structure. These are the two terms that Chomsky came up with. So according to transfer grammar, okay, accordingly, transformational grammar assigns a deep structure and a surface structure to show the relationship of such sentences. Thus, for example, I know a man who flies planes can be considered the surface structure, the surface form of a deep structure of I know a man, full stop, the man flies airplanes. So these sentences are similar. One is the active voice, okay, is the surface structure, and the sentence when it is in the passive form, sometimes, or when it is like this, I know a man and the man flies airplanes, is the deep structure. So the notion of deep structure can be helpful in explaining some um, ambiguous sentences or ambiguous utterances. For example, if we take this example, flying airplanes can be dangerous. Okay, may have a deep structure or meaning, like for example, airplanes can be dangerous when they fly, or to fly airplanes can be dangerous. Okay, so flying airplanes can be dangerous has two meanings. This sentence is ambiguous. Okay, these meanings are in the depth structure. How? For example, this sentence could mean that the act of flying planes can be dangerous. So the act of flying, when you fly the airplanes, it can be dangerous. Or airplanes that fly. It's like there is, for example, airplanes that fly and airplanes that don't fly. So these sentences, that's why it is ambiguous. So it can also be understood as the airplanes that fly can be dangerous. So it's not the act of flying them, but the airplanes that fly. So this is what we call structural ambiguity in syntax, and it is understood in this deep structure. So when you have like a surface structure and you look for its deep structure, you would understand how ambiguity. You would understand the ambiguity of the sentences. Thank you very much. And well, this is the last video, the last lesson in Schools of Linguistics. Catch you guys in another module, and have a good time.